Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I just love it because it is rich when Bitcoin maximalists accidentally stumble upon the fact that XRP is actually functionally useful. And it's that much more funny when they don't even realize they've just done it because they're recognizing the utility of this particular use case. What I'm citing here specifically is XRP being used as a bridge currency. Of course, there are many other use cases for XRP, but specifically that one because it's the most well-known, it's the most prominent, most notable one at this point. But Bitcoin maximalists, when they find out that this is an important thing to tackle utilizing cryptocurrency, and then they're all about it, when previously they've been anti this use case when it was a XRP at the core of it and Ripple pushing for it because then it's the banker's coin. But if Bitcoin is the banker's coin, then apparently it's okay because reasons. It really grinds my gears, folks. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that in this particular video, and it's going to be a fun one. But I do want to be clear at the outset, I don't have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who makes YouTube videos as a super duper fun hobby about Ripple and XRP and Bitcoin maximalists. You know, like that's pretty much it right here. And by the way, this is all happening. Like the degree to which XRP is being adopted in this very nascent asset class, it's rather impressive, frankly. And you do increasingly see crazy amounts of XRP moving around the entire planet. You know, there's this headline. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to highlight as this continues to occur, you keep seeing more and more XRP move around. Ripple, Coinbase, and a bunch of other top exchanges move 64 million XRP. Now, yeah, those are exchanges, but these transactions would not need to happen if not for the fact that XRP is getting a ton of attention right now, lots of volume, and increased adoption, even as the price over the last few days in particular has been very scary for people. I understand that. There has been an increase, as I pointed out in my last video, of a ton of new XRP holders creating new accounts, even as it's supposed to be, and it is for many, a super duper scary out there. Tons of XRP being hodled. And so then I came across this headline, brand new article from Cointelegraph titled, Bitcoin's usefulness is on a whole other level depending on where you live. So check this out. A versatile asset, Bitcoin, can wear multiple hats, including its function as a currency. One Nigerian on Twitter recently detailed how Bitcoin has helped him overcome a slew of monetary difficulties. Growing up in Nigeria, I see Bitcoin with a different lens than you do if you grew up in the United States, for example, said the CEO of Bitnob, Bernard Para, in a tweet on Thursday. His tweet was part of a thread detailing a bevy of monetary difficulties pointing toward Bitcoin as a solution. And here's another quote. You cannot spend more than $100 on international sites using your card. You can't spend your own money. You can't buy that PS5 if you wanted to because of monetary controls. So that was another quote from Bernard Para. And citing difficulties that, frankly, look, I'm in the United States, so I acknowledge that is not something I've ever had to deal with, and certainly sympathetic to what's going on here, which is why I've always viewed, frankly, cryptocurrency as just in a general as a force for good, and I view XRP specifically as a force for good that it can help and is helping people today. Whereas with Bitcoin, you get this whole narrative like Bitcoin's just, it's saving all of these people, this and that. And you hear the narrative, but I'm just like, outside of maybe, even if you could find a few anecdotal incidents, I'm like, who is it like functionally saving from tyranny, this or that? And so I don't buy into that whole narrative in general, but I do believe that it's crypto in general is a force for good, and people should have access because there can be some crazy action from governments. We frequently talk about this idea of the debasement of the United States dollars and other fiat currencies, but all sorts of bad things can happen. And so cryptocurrencies are the solution for that. You know, it's something that humans actually value that can be treated as money. that is decentralized and cannot just be stolen by the government. You know, if you're hodling it yourself, it's in your own private wallet. I mean, hell, you could know the private key and just have the only copy of the key in your brain. So I mean, yeah, you better not forget it. But I'm just saying, you can do that. Nothing like this was technologically available before, so this is all very cool stuff here. And so here's another quote: "You got lucky to go abroad, find some work, and want to send money home to mom, but have to pay ridiculous fees to do that. If it's an emergency, those funds might not get there on time," he noted as another example. Well, how about that? Think about this. So he's citing Bitcoin as the savior for all of this. Bitcoin, frankly, if you're talking about global remittances, is too slow and too costly to be a bridge currency for this use case. It absolutely is. And then you have XRP being used specifically for that today, right? Today. Because it's 24/7, 365. It's happening right now. And it's not acknowledged. And you got to start to kind of wonder, like, why is that? And so for a lot of people, some of it's that they literally don't have the information, so it's the definition of ignorance, and I don't mean that as a pejorative, as people frequently use. And people say ignorant, they just use it, they misuse it to insult people, when really it just means not knowing. I mean it in the technical sense of not knowing. So it's either that, or you're just in complete and utter like Bitcoin maxi mode, and you just don't want to acknowledge that there are other cryptocurrencies that are functionally being used today. But XRP is functionally being used today, and this is a force for good. That's why it's always been fascinating to me that although Bitcoin was initially created, if you look at the initial white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto, it's a peer-to-peer cash system, right? And it's just fascinating to me that particular use case, just for crypto on the whole, clearly it's not happening for Bitcoin. It's not being treated as cash, as money. But that use case, that could long-term be a viable one for a cryptocurrency or cryptocurrencies in the asset class, just not Bitcoin in its current form, at least. And so it's just interesting to me that although that was the first conceived use case for any cryptocurrency ever, and it was conceived for Bitcoin specifically, that might be among the last of actual ways in which cryptocurrency is adopted. It's always been fascinating to me that, and that could be, if it is adopted in that way, in a meaningful way, it could be decades from now. And so while that's the case, and that's what got this whole thing moving, the crypto asset class, it's interesting to me that the first real use case that's been adopted, and it has been adopted globally, though I think we all would agree we want to see it adopted on an even bigger scale, but the first real use case would be XRP as a bridge currency, the first major one. Yeah, I mean, because in this case you're talking about enterprise grade software in which a cryptocurrency is functionally being used today. That's the first major use case. It is not a science experiment. There are financial institutions the world over utilizing XRP today specifically as a bridge currency. That's the first real adoption. Not a cryptocurrency in place of money, but XRP instead as a bridge. And it's fascinating. And these Bitcoin maximalists, they've just said no for years and years and years. No. Why would you even want to have a cryptocurrency like XRP as a bridge currency? You're propping up the legacy financial system, this and that. And so for me, I'm not a down with banks. I'm not a down with government, the type of guy. I am not those things. I'm pro bank, because most banks, frankly, they're just small businesses that, people. And what are businesses? It's not the brick and mortar of the buildings, it's the people. So these are people, we're talking about, that you're saying you're anti. These are people that live in your community, mostly people that work at small banks, and they're providing valuable services. And even though they will have to continue to adapt, as any business does over time, that doesn't mean that they're all going to go away. The ones that don't adapt will, but banks aren't going away on the whole. There's all sorts of ways. I mean, they'll continue to lend money. In the future, you'll see more and more of them custodying cryptocurrencies, including XRP. They're not going away, right? And so people just kind of say, no, this is an awful idea. You're propping up the legacy financial system. And then you got the banker's coin. This is a bad idea. Why don't you just use Bitcoin instead, right? That's what they say, right? Why don't you just transfer Bitcoin? And then as soon as Bitcoin is being positioned for this use case, now it's suddenly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 2 thumbs up, guys. Freaking stupid. Look at these headlines. This is from July 16th last year, 2020. from CoinDesk. Lightning startup Zap raised $3.5 million for Bitcoin app ahead of Visa deal. And so there's a young man named Jack Mallers who has been pushing for this. And I mean, to his credit, at least to this point, he's getting something moving here, and that's all well and good. But he's positioning Bitcoin at the core of this instead of XRP, which is much more efficient. So I will say the one benefit that Bitcoin has over XRP right now, which you can't change from a technological perspective, is it's just more liquid, and that's important because XRP admittedly is not sufficiently liquid today. But I believe in the future, as long as you get a bigger crypto pie, XRP will be sufficiently liquid to handle all sorts of corridors the world over. Even Bitcoin, though, while it's more liquid, even it is not sufficiently liquid to handle the global liquidity or the global international transactions that are actually, like, if you could just flip it over to Bitcoin, even if you didn't have all the tech problems with it, if you could, there's still not enough liquidity even with Bitcoin, frankly. And so that's the one thing, but it's super duper slow and very costly. So how do you fix that? Well, basically they're trying to do effectively something very similar to what Ripple is doing, utilizing Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. Now the problem is there are a number of problems. The Lightning Network today does not work. It might not ever work. I don't know if it will. I mean, it works with technically with like smaller transactions, and I saw a demo that they did in real time, which is basically is like Ripple tech. It looked just like it, where they transferred. I can't remember. It was a small amount of money. It might have been like $10. I can't remember. And it went through and super duper cool. But there are still fees associated with it. And one thing I did not like, though, I watched this video where the demonstration took place. And this guy said something, Jack Mallers, who was running, he said something that I know to not be true, which is that these transactions are 100% free. And so you hear that if you're an XRP holder, and if you don't know how the guts of this all work, you might kind of freak out. But that is not true. And I know that to not be true because there's always going to be a foreign exchange cost because his company is a middleman, right? This isn't automated. We're not talking about just using the Bitcoin blockchain, right? And even that would be expensive. But now you're adding a middleman to it, this company. This company also has employees that have to be paid. They're not a charity here. Okay, so there are all sorts of expenses. I don't know why he's not being upfront about them. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. But this is not free. It's not like remittances. When you add more parties to remittances, that it suddenly becomes less expensive just because of that. Now, there can be efficiencies to be picked up with cryptocurrencies, sure, but even then, it's not clear that just because of what they're doing, that Bitcoin would take over this role rather than XRP, because the truth of the matter is you need to have an infrastructure put in place. And Ripple is pretty well the only company on the planet that is seeking to solve the global train wreck that is the world of global cross-border payments. And so while many firms, including Swift, frankly, they've improved the messaging portion of their infrastructure, you need a cryptocurrency to solve the settlement portion, because it's not just because of the technological needs, it solves the issue of trust. You no longer need to have these pre-funded accounts. And so that's the only solution humans have devised. But if you're going to go down this route, you need to have software in place. Ripple has RippleNet, for example. That's the messaging portion. And then there's on-demand liquidity, which utilizes XRP, which is another portion of it here. But that has to be built out. And you have to go out there and you have to have a sales team, and you have to onboard customers, banks, financial institutions, remittance firms. And then you have to have customer support. And you got to make sure that liquidity is being sufficiently managed. There's a lot to all of this. It doesn't just happen. And it's not that all expenses go away. Like, there are costs associated with this, but you pick up on so many more efficiencies along the way, even though you have to do all of that it's still substantially less expensive than what the legacy financial system would require when you're talking about the utilization of Nostra Vostra accounts to make these transactions possible, because it's just pre-funding of accounts, right? And so it's not the case that this company, despite what this guy says, that it's going to be free. That is absolutely impossible. I don't know why he pretends like everything's 100% free. It's just not true. And again, the technology too. Like, he's also pretending. That's not the only thing he's being disingenuous about. He says that he did some sort of weird boom thing, which was like mic drop after the transaction happened for $10 or whatever it was. And I'm like, yeah, now try doing it with $100,000. You can't. You can't do it with Lightning Network. And so the technology doesn't even work today. Now with XRP, you can do that today. The limitation comes in with liquidity specifically. You have to have a sufficient blend of price and liquidity to make that happen, right? But it's just so rich seeing all of these Bitcoin maxis come on board. Like, here's Anthony Pompliano, Bitcoin maximalist. Here is a tweet from January 30th last year, 2020. This may be one of the most ambitious projects in all of Bitcoin. Jack Mallers and the Zap team just announced Strike. So I guess his company's Zap technically, and then the platform is Strike. He says it's one of the most ambitious projects in all of Bitcoin. And this is a guy, a Bitcoin maximalist, 893,000 followers on Twitter now. And he says no other cryptocurrencies make sense. And so then he writes, the fastest, cheapest way to send any currency around the world. He's anti-Ripple and anti-XRP, but now that Bitcoin's solving that problem and becoming the banker's coin and it's the bridge, now it's okay? Jesus. It's so disingenuous. Look at this. And then you've got here's a tweet from this year, April 7th, 2021. Jack Mallers, again, the guy running Strike here. Jack Mallers and the team at Strike are changing the world. Oh, they are, but Ripple's not. I mean, Ripple's only functionally today, commercial grade software, they're already today changing the way money moves around the planet, and today saving some of the poorest people on the planet in transaction fees, but that's not changing the world. But that's this whole Bitcoin thing, which doesn't functionally work with a Lightning Network, and the guy in charge is saying that it's just free for everybody to do these transactions. That's the one, though, right? That's the one because the reasons. Because look, when you're talking about specific use cases for cryptocurrencies, these things don't just magically happen. You have to go out there and build and make it all occur. And XRP is the only cryptocurrency on the planet that is being used in commercial production today, right? This whole Strike thing still looks like an experiment to me because, frankly, Lightning Network doesn't work. And so if they're building out their ecosystem right now in terms of payments, and it does look like they are actually, and that's fine, go for it. It looks like that would be more so on the payment side, and you'd still have to use the legacy financial system if you're not using a crypto. But they keep their cards really close, so we don't know exactly how the guts of their infrastructure works. At least I haven't seen anything too terribly in depth. But in a general sense, we know that that's all it could be. If it's not a crypto, then it's got to be payment rails just in terms of messaging. And then you'd use Nostra Vostra accounts to settle. Well, what else would you do? If it's not Nostra Vostra accounts, money pre-funded in banks, it's got to be a crypto, right? What else is there? And so then there was this also, and I like this. This is from February 10th of this year, and a Ripple employee jumped in. I love this. The Lightning Network, this is Anthony Pompliano now, the Lightning Network is going to disrupt the legacy payment networks, and they won't see it coming. So there you go. Again, he's all for this is just Bitcoin in place as a bridge currency with Strike, all this, Lightning Network, my gosh. Everybody else is not going to see it coming from a million miles away. And then Ripple employee Matt Hamilton jumped in and said the following: no, it won't. Lightning is a complete usability nightmare. It won't disrupt anything. And so, mind you, his background is in, he was at IBM before working at Ripple, and he was what was his title? Software engineer, software developer. I'm probably butchering that now. Sorry, but he's a guy that has a background in the tech. He firmly understands it and codes. Like he understands the guts of how this stuff works, and he just says no, it's a complete usability nightmare, and he's working at Ripple. And then Anthony Pompliano responded to Ripple employee Matt Hamilton and wrote the following: LOL, okay. You strike me as someone who pours milk in the bowl before the cereal. Like, what the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means, but it got 180 hearts. I don't understand. Now, Matt Hamilton's got 757 hearts at least, so that's good. But, gosh. And then somebody responded to Pomp and wrote, Strike is the only response here. And then Matt Hamilton, a Ripple employee, responded, it is certainly interesting to see Bitcoiners finally understand and embrace the model that Ripple pioneered 7 years ago. But one has to ask, what caused the change of heart? No kidding, right? So now it all seems to make sense to the Bitcoiners. But it didn't when Ripple was pushing for this use case, and when XRP is at the heart of the discussion. No, it's a bad idea. But when it's Bitcoin, oh my God, this is revolutionary. This is going to change the world. Disingenuous Bitcoin maxi trolls, guys. Disingenuous Bitcoin maxi trolls.
Bitcoin, Lightning Network, Strike, Ripple Scam Coin, Zero, Cottage Cheese, blah, blah, blah.
That's what the Bitcoin maxi trolls say. I don't know, guys. I'm not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.